My wedding day was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I know, total cliche, but for me it was actually true. Standing across from Liam, the man I loved more than anything, I felt like everything was finally clicking into place. But instead of a perfect memory, I have this one moment, frozen in time, that just plays in my head like a looping nightmare. I'm standing there in my white dress, in a room full of everyone I love, and my own aunt is telling my new husband a secret. I prayed he would never, ever find out. A secret I buried so deep I'd almost convinced myself it wasn't real. And the worst part? She did it with a huge smile on her face. A bright, triumphant smile, like she was doing me some kind of favor to really get how it all went. So, wrong. How my Aunt Carol went from my mom's sister to the woman who tried to burn my life down for fun, we have to go back. Way back. Because the poison she poured all over my wedding day had been sitting on the shelf for a very, very long time to really get how it all went so wrong. How my Aunt Carol went from my mom's sister to the woman who tried to burn my life down for fun, we have to go back. Way back. Because the poison she poured all over my wedding day had been sitting on the shelf for a very, very long time. Growing up, my family seemed normal enough. I've got a mom, a dad, and a younger sister, Megan, who's my absolute best friend. And then there was my mom's sister, Aunt Carol. On the surface, Carol was, well, she was just Carol, a fixture at every holiday, every birthday. She was loud, had a laugh that could shake a room, and always brought a dessert that was just a little too sweet. But even as a kid, I sensed something was off. There was this competitive edge to her, always simmering right below the surface, and it was almost always pointed at my mom. My mom is a genuinely gentle person. She's kind, she's quiet, and she finds joy in the little things. Carol, on the other hand, always seemed to be chasing something more, something flashier. Their parents, my grandparents, were loving but stretched thin. They helped my mom with a down payment on her first house, which was this modest but huge gesture that really set my parents up for a stable life. But a few years later, when Carol asked for the same kind of help to start a boutique home decor business, the money just wasn't there. My grandparents had a bunch of medical bills and their savings were wiped out. Carol never forgave them. And by extension, she never forgave my mother for getting a lucky break that my mom had zero control over. Carol's business, which she funded with a high-interest loan, failed in under 2 years. Her already rocky marriage fell apart under all that financial stress. My mom tried to be there for her, offered support, a shoulder to cry on, even offered her a small loan, but Carol wanted none of it. She didn't want help. She wanted to be mad. It was like she preferred nursing that grudge because it gave her something to hold on to. She was the wrong sister, the one who had to claw for everything while my mom just floated through life. This resentment showed up in 1,000 little ways over the years. I kind of became a secondary target, like a stand-in for the life Carol thought my mom had stolen from her. I got straight A's in high school, and Carol would say, "That's wonderful, Chloe. It's so good you're book smart. Your cousin Ashley is just so naturally gifted with people. You know?" When I got my first real job after college, she hugged me and whispered, "Congrats, it's a good starter job. A nice little stepping stone." Nothing was ever quite good enough. It was always downplayed, always made to feel less than. My family had this unspoken rule. We just ignored her. "That's just Carol," my mom would say with a sad little sigh. We treated her passive aggression like bad weather unpleasant. But you can't do anything about it. We'd roll our eyes in private and just smile and nod in public. We thought it was harmless. We were so wrong. Then I met Liam. He was just solid. He's a structural engineer, a guy who literally sees the world in terms of foundations and support, and that's exactly what he was for me. He was calm when I was anxious, steady when I was all over the place. Our love wasn't some crazy whirlwind. It was a slow, beautiful build. With him, I felt safe. I felt seen for who I was. Not what I did or didn't do. He just loved me. For the first time, I didn't feel like I had to constantly prove I was worthy. After 2 years together, he proposed on a trip to the coast, on a cliff overlooking the ocean at sunset. It was perfect. And of course, I said yes. When we told everyone we were engaged, my family was thrilled. My mom cried. My dad gave Liam a hug that I thought might crack a rib, and my sister immediately started planning the bachelorette party. And then there was Carol. I called her, my voice buzzing with excitement. There was a weird pause on the line. "Oh," she said, her voice totally flat. "Congratulations. Let's hope this one sticks." My blood ran cold. "This one?" I asked, my throat suddenly tight. "Just an expression, dear," she said, her voice instantly shifting to that sickly sweet tone. "You know what I mean. I'm just so happy for you, but the damage was done." That phrase, "this one," was a tiny, sharp dart aimed right at a part of my past I had completely walled off. A past that only one person in my family knew everything about. Aunt Carol. Wedding planning started off as a total blast. Liam and I wanted something that felt like us, elegant, but not stuffy. A real celebration, not a production. But from the second we started making decisions, Aunt Carol was there, just hovering with her unsolicited advice and thinly veiled criticisms. First, the dress. I found this beautiful aligned gown, simple, flowing, with delicate spaghetti straps. I felt like me in it. Big mistake showing a picture to Carol. She squinted at my phone. "Oh, honey, are you sure about those straps? With your frame, you should really cover your arms. Maybe a nice lace bolero? It would look so much more dignified." Then, the venue. We found a gorgeous old winery with rolling hills and a rustic barn for the reception. We were instantly in love. Carol's take? "It's cozy," she said after we showed her the brochure. "I just hope the air conditioning is good. Remember your cousin Jennifer's wedding at that farm? Everyone was sweating. So unpleasant." She had a real talent for taking something we were excited about and planting a seed of anxiety. The guest list became a war zone. She insisted we had to invite a bunch of distant relatives I hadn't seen in a decade. "Chloe, you can't leave them out. They'd be so hurt. Family is family." My mom, always the peacemaker, told me to just do it to keep things calm. So we did. Our intimate wedding for 100 people blew up to 150, stretching our budget and my sanity. Through all of it, Liam was my rock. "Don't let her get to you," he'd say, wrapping his arms around me. "It's our day. That's all that matters." And he was right. But her comments were like this constant, low hum of negativity that was starting to get to me. Then came the incident that should have been the final blaring alarm. We were at a family dinner, and Liam was happily talking about our finances, how we were merging our bank accounts. It was a normal, happy conversation. Out of nowhere, Carol chimes in, not looking at anyone. "Well, just make sure you two have separate bank accounts, too. You know, for safety. You just can't be too careful with money. It's so easy to be taken for a ride these days." The table went dead silent. Liam just looked at her, confused. "I think we'll be okay, Carol," he said with a polite little laugh, but I felt like I couldn't breathe. My heart was pounding. Taken for a ride. She chose those words for a reason. They were a direct, vicious jab right at me. See, what Liam didn't know, what nobody in that room knew except Carol, was that I'd been engaged before. Years ago, when I was 23. His name was Mark. He was charming, exciting, and I fell for him hard and fast. He told me he was an entrepreneur about to launch a brilliant tech startup, but he was just a little short on seed money. He painted this incredible picture of our future, and I bought every word of it. Young, in love, and desperate for the fairy tale. I gave him my entire life savings. $50,000. Money I had scraped together since I was 16. Money my grandparents had gifted me for college. Every cent. He promised to pay me back with interest as soon as the funding came through. A week after I sent the money, he was gone. Phone disconnected. Apartment empty. Vanished. The shame was suffocating. It wasn't just the money. It was the total abject humiliation. I had been played. I was so broken, I couldn't even tell my parents. The only person I told was Aunt Carol. In a moment of pure desperation, I drove to her house, a sobbing mess, and the whole ugly story came pouring out. She held me. She told me it wasn't my fault, that Mark was a monster, and that I'd get through it. She swore she would never tell a soul. She seemed so kind. I thought she was my secret keeper. I had no idea she was just holding on to my secret like a weapon, waiting for the perfect moment to use it. Over the next few years, I clawed my life back. I worked 2 jobs and slowly paid back the money into a savings account, never telling my grandparents why. I went to therapy. I rebuilt myself. When I met Liam, that whole chapter felt like it belonged to a different person. It was closed. I made a conscious choice not to tell him. Not because I wanted to lie, but because the story was just soaked in so much shame. It didn't feel like a part of me anymore. It was a scar from a wound that had finally healed. Why would I want to show him the ugliest moment of my life? I told myself my past with Mark didn't define me. My future with Liam did. After Carol's comment at dinner, I cornered her in the kitchen. "What was that?" I hissed, my voice shaking. "What did you mean, taken for a ride?" She turned to me, her face a perfect mask of innocence. "I have no idea what you're talking about, dear," she sighed, her eyes wide. "It's a common phrase. My goodness, you're so sensitive. Must be wedding stress." She was gaslighting me and loving it. I stood there, shaking, knowing she was playing some twisted game. But what could I do? I let it go. I told myself she was just being bitter old Carol. I told myself there was a line. Even she wouldn't cross. Our wedding day was perfect. Bright, clear, not a cloud in the sky. A good omen, I thought. All the stress, all the anxiety about Aunt Carol, it just melted away. All I felt was this deep, bubbling joy. My sister Megan was making me laugh while we got ready. My mom gave me a locket that belonged to my grandmother, tearing up as she fastened it around my neck. "She would have loved Liam," she whispered. It was all magical. When I walked down the aisle and saw Liam waiting for me, his eyes shining, the rest of the world just disappeared. It was only him. In our vows, we promised each other honesty and trust. We promised to be each other's safe harbor. And when he kissed me, the cheers from our friends and family sounded like they were 1,000,000 miles away. The reception was a dream. The barn was glowing with fairy lights. The food was amazing. The music was perfect. The dance floor was packed. I danced with my dad, hugged my new in-laws, and spent every second I could with my hand in my husband's. I kept glancing at the gold band on his finger, and my heart felt like it was going to burst. I had never, ever been happier. And then it was time for the toasts. Liam's best man told a hilarious story from their college days. Then my sister got up and talked about our childhood and how seeing me with Liam made her believe in true love. We were both crying by the end of it. Then there was a pause. The DJ announced, "And now a special toast from the bride's Aunt Carol." My stomach did a little flip, but I pushed it down. I smiled at Liam and squeezed his hand. "It's my wedding day," I told myself. She wouldn't dare. Carol took the mic, looking way too comfortable. "Wow," she began. "What a beautiful day. Chloe, you look breathtaking. And Liam, well, you're a lucky man." People chuckled. Okay, so far so good, normal, even. I've known Chloe her whole life. she continued, her eyes landing right on me. I've watched her grow from a stubborn little girl into this incredible woman. And seeing her so truly happy with Liam, it just warms my heart. It really does. Because she's had such a hard road to get here. A much harder road than many of you know. The vibe in the room shifted. It was subtle, but it was there. The chatter died down. People's smiles got a little confused and fixed. I felt Liam's hand tighten on mine. He glanced at me, a question in his eyes. I just stared at Carol, my own smile frozen, a cold dread creeping up my spine. You see, Carol said, leaning into the mic like she was sharing a secret, Liam is a wonderful man, stable, kind, everything a woman could want. A perfect fit for Chloe. But what some of you may not know is that Liam isn't Chloe's first fiancé. A quiet gasp rippled through the room. I saw my mom's face go white. My dad looked like he'd been punched. I turned to Liam. His eyes were locked on me, his brow furrowed, confusion hardening into something else. No, Carol went on, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. There was Mark. We don't talk about Mark, but I believe marriage should be built on total honesty, no secrets. And I think it's important for Liam to know the full story, to know the true depth of her resilience. My mind was screaming. No, please stop. I wanted to stand up, to yell, to tackle her, but I was completely paralyzed, trapped in a spotlight of my own humiliation. Chloe was so in love, Carol narrated, enjoying the drama. She met this charming man, Mark, an entrepreneur with big dreams. And Chloe, with her big, trusting heart, wanted to be part of those dreams. She paused and took a sip of her champagne, letting the tension build. This was her big performance. She gave him every penny she had, Carol announced to the horrified room. Her entire life savings, $50,000. For a business investment, she was planning a wedding just like this one. And then one day, he was just gone, along with all her money. The silence was deafening. I could feel 150 pairs of eyes on me, a mix of pity, shock, and morbid curiosity. I risked a look at Liam. His face was blank, but his eyes, they were full of shock, confusion, and something that looked terrifyingly like betrayal. Carol wasn't done. She raised her glass, looking right at Liam, her voice suddenly bright and cheerful. So Liam, I just want you to know that you've married a woman of incredible experience. A woman who knows the value of a dollar because she learned it the hard way. Let's all raise a glass to Chloe, to strength, to resilience, and to a marriage with no more secrets. A few people awkwardly raised their glasses. No one clinked. No one cheered. The only sound was the hum of the air conditioning and the blood pounding in my ears. Carol smiled, took a final triumphant sip, and sat down. The silence that followed Carol's toast was the loudest thing I've ever heard. It was just thick and heavy. Carol sat there looking smug, like she'd just done the most beautiful, honest thing in the world. I felt like I was watching a movie of my own life. My vision tunneled until all I could see was Liam. He wasn't looking at Carol. He was looking at me. The hurt in his eyes was like a physical blow. He slowly pulled his hand away from mine. He didn't say a word. He just stood up, pushed his chair back, and walked right out of the reception. He didn't run. He just walked away with this quiet finality that was so much worse than yelling. For a second, nobody moved. Then chaos stopped. My dad, bless him, jumped up and grabbed the mic. Well, he said, his voice straining to sound cheerful, Aunt Carol certainly has a unique storytelling style. Let's get the music back on, DJ. Time to dance. But it was no use. The party was dead. The bomb had gone off. I watched in a daze as my mom and sister stormed over to Carol's table. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I saw my mom's face twisted with a rage I had never seen before, her fingers shaking as she pointed at her sister. Cousins and uncles started getting involved, some defending Carol, others looking at her in disgust. My family was literally breaking apart right there on my dance floor. I didn't care. I just cared about Liam. I grabbed the skirt of my stupid, expensive dress and ran. I ran out of the barn, past the shocked faces of my guests, and found him in the gravel parking lot. He was standing by his car, his back to me, just staring out at the vineyard. "Liam," I choked out. He turned around slowly. He wasn't angry. It was worse. His face was just empty. "Why, Chloe?" he asked, his voice quiet and hoarse. "Why didn't you just tell me?" "I was going to," I lied, the words tasting like ash. "I was waiting for the right time." "The right time?" he repeated, letting out this bitter little laugh. "When was that going to be? Our 5th anniversary? Our 10th? Was I ever going to know the real you? That's not the real me." I cried, tears ruining my perfect makeup. That was a stupid girl who made a horrible mistake years ago. It has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with us, he said, his voice finally rising. "It's not about the money, Chloe. I don't care about the money. It's that you were engaged. You were planning a life with someone else, and you hid it from me. We stood up there today and made vows, and I thought I was marrying my best friend. My best friend wouldn't keep that from me. Right now, I feel like I married a stranger." Every word was a knife because I knew he was right. I had chosen to hide a part of myself, and my aunt used that choice to blow up our world. There was nothing else to say. We got into the car, my beautiful wedding dress bunched up around me, and we drove away from our own wedding. We left the music, the food, the flowers, and the smoldering ruins of our family behind. The drive to the hotel where we were supposed to spend our wedding night was 20 minutes that felt like an eternity. We didn't say a single word. The silence was just thick with betrayal. The happiest day of my life was over before the sun had even set. The first few days of our marriage were just a haze of grief. We canceled our honeymoon to Italy. We could barely look at each other. We were in this house we had been so excited to make a home, but now it just felt cold and strange. We slept in separate rooms. I'd hear him up at night, pacing, and the sound of his footsteps felt like a countdown to the end of my marriage. He was right. I had broken his trust. But I was also the victim of a cruel, calculated attack. After a week of silence, I told him I booked us an appointment with a marriage counselor. "I'll go," I said, my voice a whisper. "And if you still want to leave after that, I won't stop you." Therapy was brutal. It was raw and it was painful. I had to finally tell the whole story of Mark, not just the facts, but the deep soul-crushing shame I carried for years. I had to admit I didn't tell Liam because I was scared he'd see me as damaged or foolish. In turn, Liam had to talk about how betrayed he felt. He's an engineer. He said that for him, trust is the foundation. If the foundation is cracked, the whole structure is compromised. He felt like the woman he married had a secret basement he never knew about. Slowly, painstakingly, we started to rebuild. It wasn't one magic conversation. It was 100 small, difficult ones. It was me learning to be truly vulnerable and him learning to see my past not as a betrayal, but as just part of my story. He eventually came to understand that Carol's toast wasn't some misguided attempt at honesty, but a targeted missile designed to cause as much pain as possible. When he realized that, something shifted. He saw that we were both her victims. Meanwhile, my family imploded. My parents cut Carol off completely. Done. My mom sent her one final email saying she had mourned the loss of her sister for years. But now she was finally burying the body. The extended family split right down the middle. Some sided with Carol, arguing that secrets are poison and that I was wrong to hide my past. The others were horrified and cut ties with her too. The big, loud family gatherings I grew up with, they're over. That crack in our family is permanent. It's been 2 years since the wedding. Liam and I are still together. And in a strange way, surviving this made us stronger. We had to build a whole new foundation, one made of radical honesty. Our marriage isn't the easy fairy tale I thought it would be. It's something realer and maybe better. It's a choice we make every day to trust, to forgive, and to protect our love. I haven't seen or spoken to Aunt Carol since that day. I hear things, through the grapevine. Her life is small and bitter. She pushes people away, clinging to her own warped sense of being right. I used to hate her with a burning passion, but now I mostly just feel pity. Her revenge didn't make her happy. It just left her all alone in the rubble she created. She tried to burn my life down, but all she really managed to do was set fire to her own dot, so that's my story. That's how my aunt's wedding toast exposed my deepest secret and almost ended my marriage before it even started. We survived it, and we're stronger for it. But the scars are a permanent reminder of the damage one person's bitterness can do. And now I have to ask you, what would you have done? Could you ever forgive your aunt? And here's the big one, the one Liam and I talked about for months in therapy. Was I wrong to keep that secret from him in the first place? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you got sucked into this story and want to hear more, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for listening.